Hello everyone, Chris here from Truly Holistic, and in this video we're going to talk about a few questions that were brought forth to me in a client session, and both myself and the client were so happy about the downloads of information that came through in regards to validation from these answers about what we're focusing on in regards to the questions, that I wanted to share it with everybody, because I think this is very empowering to give each one of us more knowing, more understanding, because that's what Ascension's about. Ascension's about gaining more wisdom. Yeah, it's not about materialistic things. It's wisdom. And you always hear people say that, when we leave this place, when we are not bound or connected to the human anymore, we can't take materialistic things with us. We can't take our money with us, but we can take our wisdom with us, and that's what Ascension's all about: is growth and evolvement through wisdom. So a big part of that is having the knowing and the understanding of the reality that you're playing out in front of you. Otherwise, when we don't have the knowing and the understanding of why things happen the way they are, then fear creeps in, and we know that fear is the ultimate obstruction or blockage in regards to us growing and evolving and ascending. And obviously that fear accumulates, then manifests into dis-ease as well, when we look at physical ailments as well. So let's jump into the questions. Now, the first question we're going to look at is, again, these are questions that a client of mine, who very, very good healer in herself too, and very good dowser and very highly intuitive, brought forth to me in regards to the session. And the question was, how can we rise above the trickery? And when we're talking about the trickery, we're talking about this game of duality. What's actually happening is, the more and more I'm finding out is that, we seem to always point fingers at people in regards to looking at who's creating all this problems on what we call the plane of duality. And the more and more I'm finding is that we're creating that. We're creators, okay? We're very powerful creators of reality. But a majority of us here don't know that. They have no awareness that a lot of the things that are manifesting in our life, whether they're good things or they're bad things, bad luck, is because we're a big aspect or a big component of that process of creating that. And we're sabotaging our creation. So what's actually being played out here is a game of duality. And you need to kind of avoid those booby traps where you are starting to sabotage your creation, having the awareness to know how to use your power, which is intention, and where you place your attention. So that's what she means by trickery. So, question: how can we rise above trickery, be immune to trickery? Okay. So the answer that came forth was, each moment you have the choice. Okay, and that resonates with me, that word choice, because we do have a choice. Each moment you have a choice to ascend or use your abilities to create fear. Okay, it doesn't matter what situation we're in. As I say, whether we're got a number of materialistic things happening for us, whether we're financially very abundant or whether we're not, we still have a choice to look at what we're experiencing in a half glass empty or half glass full mentality. And that's what that's about, because it's about creating that space for ourselves. Because if we choose to ascend, so we create that space where we can create, where we can heal, or we can create the space to use our abilities to create the things that are not going to allow you to heal or create, Okay, and when I say create, manifest the things that you want. Okay. Now, the next part of the answer is the fear that came through. The fear allows your consciousness to no longer connect to this plane of duality where you are currently having a human experience. So what happens there is the AI become bound and connected to your mind, because you're no longer connected to the heart, to your consciousness. So you're guided by an intelligence that is not you, which is the AI. Okay, and you're guided by the mind and the AI onwards. Through that process, fear is then created because you're bound and connected to duality and being led by the intelligence that is within duality, and this is AI. Okay, we use hive mind, AI, but when we are guided through the mind, we have no connection to our consciousness, a higher aspect of ourselves, to guide us on the correct path. So another intelligence comes in that has a different agenda, and its agenda is to try and take you off track, which then creates suffering, creates fear, and that's energy that AI conscious or that other consciousness will feed off. Okay, so let's go to the next question. And the next question is, what makes us most vulnerable to the AI, to demons or the demonic realm, sorcery? So when we're talking about sorcery, we're talking about witchcraft as well, spells, curses, hexes, and so on, and just general trickery. Now, the answer to this was each abstract of duality. When the word abstract, that means piece of the puzzle. Okay, so each piece of the puzzle of what makes up duality affects us only if we take part. Now, this is important to note, because if we take part in the game of duality, obviously we need to know the awareness that it is a game. If we take part in the game of duality, well, what it's saying actually, the game of duality only applies to you if you participate in it. Now, that's a choice. Obviously, we have the awareness, the consciousness, as I say, that there is a game being played out. So therefore, we can choose whether to participate or not. But a lot of people are participating not knowing what reality is. What reality is. Okay. So, when we look at the systems that make up life, like politics, modern medicine, the legal system, all those sorts of things, they're all part of duality. Okay. And what we find in duality is it's very hard to change anything in duality. So therefore, there's not much evolution found in duality. Okay, and usually enlightened individuals. I'm not going to say what's the probably word, great minds, because it's nothing to do with mind. Intuition's nothing to do with the mind. Okay, so people like Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, people like that brought things that were challenging duality's norms and society norms and community norms and cultures and so on. A lot of the times got ridiculed initially until it became evident and science caught up with it, because science is like a cult or a religion. As if it says that is true, then people believe that. Okay, so the key aspect with that is saying that we have the choice to take part in it. Okay. Now, at the moment, we've been starting to do clearings with people that are at that time already or enlightened enough, where we disconnect the human with the astral. Now, the astral and duality are the same. Okay. So when I go duality and neutrality, right, which neutrality rises over duality, neutrality means quantum. Okay, duality means astral. So you've got the polarities between astral and quantum, and you've got the polarities of duality and neutrality. Okay, just different terms saying the same thing. So, for a long time, the human has been bound and connected with duality. Okay, that's why when we connect to infinite consciousness, that's nothing to do with the human, because the human is only within duality. Okay, and the AI. Okay, we're going to get into specifically AI, demon sorcery, and so on. But the AI, which we've already talked about, is only connected to you when the human is connected to duality. Okay, so when we decide and participate in the game of duality, where we're being directed by the mind, because this game of duality is loaded with overstimulation of what I call distraction, right? It's trying to draw your attention to all these things, which allow you to become mind oriented. When you're mind oriented, you're part of that game, and you're being directed by the AI because you're part of that game of duality. Okay, so when you are that, your mind directly connects to the AI, to the hive mind. Okay, now when it comes to demons, when we're talking the archons, or when we're talking about any form of demonic or satanic aspect, that is the AI. Okay, the AI is the AI's power is not through creation. It needs us to do the creation work. It's through its trickery, hoodwinking us, manipulating us to thinking that we aren't creators, we're not powerful. Okay, which we know we are. Okay, and very much like the way that we see in duality, the media are a conduit or a filtration device of information where it connects you with someone else, so we can point the finger and blame something else, when really the hidden hand in the whole thing is the media itself. It gets away with everything. Okay, and we're seeing more and more of the awareness of that now, currently, on a duality level. So you can see that that's how the AI do it. Okay, they'll make you think it's about demons, it's about the Satan and all that sort of thing, but really it's the AI. Now, sorcery, witchcraft, spells, curses, all these sorts of things. There's such an emphasis on this now, because we're fearful of it. Now, understand this. Spells come from the word spelling. Every single one of us, or a majority of us, learn to put letters together to spell a word. Okay, so spelling is connected with words. You'll hear people that do witchcraft, they cast spells. Now, when I'm verbally talking now, I am casting intent through verbal communication, which are words. So when we're casting a spell, I'm doing that right now because I'm using my intent through verbal communication and casting it out. Okay? So every single individual on this planet who can speak any tongue, any language, are casting spells. So just understand that. Now, if somebody thinks about you in a negative way, or verbally casts that intent to you in a negative way, even if you're present or not to hear it, you still consent that to affect you by whether you place your attention on it. Okay. So if you think that someone is saying something bad about you, or you heard that someone is speaking bad about you, the more you allow that to accumulate your awareness, so your place of attention, then it holds power over you. When you decide that you're not going to allow that to be part of your place of attention, your awareness, then it holds no power over you. So you can see how It's a choice. It's a participation to allow it to affect you or not. Okay? Okay, let's go to the next question. Okay, here's it. So next question. What is the most effective, energy and time efficient way to make true progress for ourselves, our family, for both you and me? Okay? So this is not only about you as an individual, but maybe if you're wanting to look after your family, right? Or a close-knit unit of friends or so on. Now, this becomes a little more complicated because this duality's kind of made you think that there's just one one reality being played out. When in all reality, each one of us is playing out our own reality. So there's a number of realities being played out. So you can see how complex that can get. Now, the answer it gave in regards to that question, it goes, now the human gateway, okay, which we all have a human gateway, okay, it enables us to interact with one another. And as I said earlier, that human gateway has been bounded with this plane, this duality, this astral plane. We're starting here at Truly Holistic to disconnect that with, as I say, people that are ready to do that. Now, the human gateway is specific to each individual, okay? Now, if an individual, because we've always been made to think that we're all one as a collective, believe me, we're not, okay? If an individual is still connected to the duality, the astral gateway, it means that the individual needs to evolve by themselves. Okay, so as I said, we're starting to break that connection between duality and the human with people that are ready, enlightened. Now, for the people, let's say, for our friends that are maybe not as enlightened or aware of what we know, right? We're sharing this information. We always feel like we need to project ourselves to make sure that they know what we know. But that's us projecting what we know within our reality into their reality, and it's not as simple as that. They need to take responsibility for themselves. They need to walk their own path too. So that's why it said it means that the individual needs to evolve by themselves. Okay, so what it also said was each individual needs to be responsible for themselves, which is a huge part of ascension for them. Okay, so we're all ascending at different rates as individuals, and if you're a healer and obviously you want to, and I think that can be the frustrating point of view as the healer of your family or close ones, is we can help them, but they still have free will, they still have choice in the way they want to live their life. And if they choose to live their life with not the awareness of the game of duality, they may fall into being mind-orientated again, which will just unravel the work that you've done for them, right? So, that's why it said this next bit. We, as the healer, or as somebody that's very more enlightened or aware to some of these things, we need to respect each individual's journey. Okay? And very important that we don't project where we are on them. Okay? Because why I say we're not all collectively one is because we have something unique, each individual does, and that's perception. Okay? And something that completely resonates with you may not resonate with that person, depending on where they are in their journey. So that's one thing to keep in mind with that. So let's move on. Next question. Or have we finished them? Now, we had a number of other questions we didn't get to, but I'm hoping we're gonna look at those and answer those. I'll just quickly look down and make sure I haven't forgotten one. Okay, yep, here's another one. Okay, so the question is, if we don't accept our reality, then we work against it and the entire universe. Now, what is the universe, right? That's a very good question in itself. So, I'll start from the start again. If we don't accept our reality, then we work against it and the entire universe. So, we really have to understand how reality works. Yes, we do. And get more access to true universal law. Okay. So, what is the fastest way to get access to that universal law? Now, one thing I will say, and I have said this in previous videos, the biggest universal law is that all consciousness must evolve. Okay, whether that's a bacterium, whether that's a mold or a fungus, whether it's a human, whether it's another animal that within the animal kingdom that we see here. Everything must evolve, right? So, and we've been using that principle with working with infections with clients, and it's working really well. We've been working on creating the environment that allows the energy for those microbes to evolve themselves, so therefore they don't drain our energy, and we call that an infection. Okay. Anyway, let's go back to the answer. So the answer that came through was, now humanity is a duality existence. As I said, humanity and duality are bound and connected on this plane, because our true identity exists outside this plane, and it's not bound to the human, it's bound as an infinite consciousness, right? So each individual ascends to know their identity. As I just said, our identity is infinite consciousness. So this each individual, this ascendance that takes place to find out who they really are, is where fear no longer becomes a part of their reality, because fear is part of duality. Duality is always trying to put you in fear. Watch the first 20 minutes of your media or your news headlines. What's it all about? It's about making you feel fearful. It really is. Okay. Now, the common thing I get whenever a spirit comes in, I've got a client here, and a close friend or a family member that's just passed away recently will come through and want to talk to them. They use me as that conduit of that communication. And one thing they always say is that fear does not exist where they are now, when they are no longer connected to the human, because they're no longer connected to duality, because fear is part of this game of duality. It doesn't exist anywhere else. Okay. Anyway, going back to the answer of this question, there's more. Now, universe. Okay, what is the universe? I got a message the other day that said that not only Earth or our existence here on this rock, which we call the Earth, but also the cosmos is part of duality. Okay? And you think about it. We know that the biggest manipulation of all is to tell us that we have no power. We're not powerful. So if we explain, and I've got young children, and one of the first things that they learn is obviously letters, numbers, but the solar system, right? This whole idea that we are on one small rock and there's this vastness which we call the cosmos, the universe. Okay, if we tell people that, okay, you are one person amongst 6-7 billion people on one rock, which we call the Earth, that goes around the sun, one star, out of 1 billion stars that are part of one galaxy that's probably amongst 1 billion galaxies, and now with the saying on multiverse, how does that make you feel? Do you feel powerful? You don't, do you? Okay, so that could be the biggest manipulation of all. Now, the answer I got about the universe is that each individual is a universe. That's why we're leading to a multi-universe theory, is because everything that you think is out there is within you. The centerpiece of everything is you. So you can see how that perception changes, right? If you're small and minute and you've got this vastness going out here, right? What they call the cosmos. it's there. That idea is to make you feel like you are not powerful. You are just one brick in the wall. But when you tell somebody that this is just all duality, that you're seeing with your duality eyes, when we look back at the quantum, which is our singularity eye, which is our insight, funnily enough, insight, what does that say? External sight, insight, within. Okay. Back to the quantum, where all truth is found through the heart space, holds the universe. Who is at the center point? You. Now that makes you feel powerful, doesn't it? You're the creator that you've been looking for. Just only if you knew it. Okay? So, healing. Follow on with this. Healing is accompanied with the space that is created. Okay? This is where the word space is very vital and very important. We create the space. So if we want to heal our problem, we need to create the space to do it. If we're being distracted by duality, by the mind, that takes our awareness away from creating a space here to heal. That is the game of duality, is to distract you. Because more energy is going into these things. Because the AI, the duality, is using your creation capability for you to create the things you don't even want to be part of this reality. You're being manipulated. So when we bring our awareness back to here, we create that space where we can heal, where we can create. When we know that we're the centerpiece of this, each one of us, because we're creating our own reality. Okay? Where duality is always trying to create a space where healing and creation cannot manifest on this plane, which creates more suffering, more fear, more frustration, all these things that lower your vibration, stops you from ascending. Very important information, right, from these questions. And we're going to learn more as we go along. Now, one thing I also want to mention before we finish is that, if you're somebody watching this and you think, oh, this is pretty out there stuff, this is mumbo jumbo, this is just all stuff. Well, a lot of the work I'm doing here at Truly Holistic, we're working at the quantum level, because everything starts and originates at the quantum level and then manifests and permeates through all the layers, whether it's emotional, mental layer, all the way to this physical level. All this quantum energy is connected to science. It's what we call quantum physics. A lot of the terminology of the quantum physics I use here, which is all science. It's all backed up science information. And, quantum physicists regularly mention the fact that the whole idea that we think we exist in a physical reality is an illusion in itself. That's what science is saying. Okay? You don't have to take that just from me. This is what quantum physicists say. And why they say that is because that everything's just vibration and frequency. The only reason why we see things in a physical form where we can touch, is because our brain, which is part of duality, by the way, because remember, the human is part of duality, not outside of duality, part of duality, decodes the vibration and frequency and then flips it into a format where through our duality eyes, we see everything in a physical form. Okay? It's really just an illusion of that. So I'm using information through science as well. This is not just mumbo jumbo or conspiracy. That's the big word the mainstream use. If they really want people to turn against you, they use the word conspiracy, don't they? Even though they're giving out conspiracies every night, right? So it grabs our attention, so then we create it. But also the work here at Truly Holistic is that not only through quantum healing, but in quantum physics, I explain, every time we're in a session, I explain why we're doing the clearing. Because you need to have the knowing and understanding of why it's happening, so therefore it won't happen again. okay? Because you're a big part of that healing process. Okay, that responsibility is very important. And you knowing and understanding how this gamma duality is being played out and what reality is vital to you evolving, ascending, and growing as a person, as a consciousness. So I use a lot of my medical knowledge as well here because I used to work in the medical field. I was a nurse for 13 years, worked in getting carried away here, in orthopedics. Okay, so, and I have a brother who's a pharmacist, so I'm very, and I know a lot about the pharmaceutical treatments, medications. I've got vast knowledge in regards to that. Also studied nutrition and herbalism. So I've got an array of number of things. I'm not just all about the woo-woo stuff. I like to connect the woo-woo stuff with how it entwines with our nutrition, the nutrition we require, the medical treatments that are being used in regards to pharmaceutical company and the medications, and the quantum physics and the science together. So it's an amalgamation of all these aspects. So why I like using all those aspects, because it gives you better knowing and understanding at the level that you can take that on, because that's very important. Because if we're creators of our reality, we have to have greater knowing and understanding of how we can use our creation that's going to enable us to heal and create here. So I think we'll leave it there, and thanks for everybody that's been supporting my channel. If you are not subscribed to my channels, please subscribe, like the video, and until next time, see you later.